The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the 12th day of January 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sherry, it is what they call Hump Day. How are you feeling?
On the hump.
That's the
I
clean
feel like
version.
I'm just like right there, like
Right there.
long weekend coming about. So I'm just like, I see you.
Yeah. Many people can relate to you on that. Someone put something the other day, Bermudian on Twitter. They were like, we don't have another holiday till like April. This should be against the law. And I'm like, I don't think Americans go that long without a holiday. 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, it's Martin Luther King Day. Then they've got President's Day. So yeah, Bermuda,
Yes.
yeah, we probably need to look at that, right?
Bermuda makes up on it on the other end of the calendar. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
They make up for it. You don't
yeah,
have Good Friday off out here.
yeah.
Definitely not Cup Match. Like they make it up at the other
Boxing
end. So
Day, yeah,
it's all right.
Boxing Day. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
This is true. I don't know the length of time between a holiday. I get it, but hey, that's why we should have a decent amount of vacation days. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today, as Eugene Dean is back. He's stopping by for another important conversation. The daily play is music. Oh, sorry.
We bringing it back. My trivia Fridays with you. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I'm
We're
waiting for you
bring.
on Friday. I mean, you could bring it. Look, folks, one of my early lessons in radio was when you're doing trivia, it's got to be engaging, meaning someone should know the answer. The thing is, someone always knows the answer. It's just not Sherry. Don't drop me a bomb on that one. That was actually funny. Um, I'm sure everybody is laughing at that. But folks, don't forget the giveaway. Here's how it's going to work.
Losing it.
If you don't know already, you will have to tune in every day to hear what letter is being given at a different time each day. So we've already given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters, right? So it's going to be 6th letter today. All right. Those letters will determine the words that make up the phrase. So some folks have guessed the first word and you sent it already. It's not a word. Remember, I said it's a phrase. And then some people have sent the wrong phrase. So once you believe you've guessed correctly, go to our website, thedailyhour.com, and fill out the contact us form with your name, email, and answer where it says message. Please note you must be a subscriber on our website to be eligible to win the $500 prize. I hope that's clear. If not, you can send us an email, engage at the Daily Hour.
Clear and
Clear? You
one
got
prize.
one prize. No, one $500 prize. There will be more, but that's the one prize. Also, I can't again, I'm gonna keep doing this as long as you all keep doing it. Thank you. Behalf of my sister, my family, myself, thank you all for the continuous kind messages regarding my mom. Again, I don't know if this is normal at this point because we didn't have voice notes back then, but just me going back and listening to her voice notes. Shanta, who actually arranges the guests for this show, I tweeted yesterday. My mother just sat back. She wasn't in the comments unless it came to the Friday giveaway. She would put the hashtag in, but she never commented or whatnot, which was her nature. She was genuinely a quiet person. But she had, back in September, October, she sent a voice note to me asking to have a particular person on the show. And I said, oh, well, I don't handle, arranging them anymore. I'll definitely pass this on to Shanta. And so I got word that Shanta actually, unless this person pulls out, they will be coming on the show. And this is a person that many Bermudians want to talk to. They want to hear from. And this person doesn't speak to the media. So I think Bermudians will be very happy to hear from this person and have the opportunity to engage with this person sometime between now and the end of the month. So thank you to the work that Shanta does behind the scenes. And I know my mom would be proud. She'd approve of the guests coming on finally. Without that,
I'm excited.
You're excited, Sherry? Sherry's
yeah, I am.
She's troublemaker. Yeah.
It was something. You boy.
I'm the good one. Look, I'm the good one.
You are not the good guy.
Yeah, I'm the good one. Let's bring the real good one into the show, Leanna. Lee gets in no trouble. Only compliments. Jamal and Sherry, Rude, and this and that. Yeah, I'm throwing you in there with me, Sherry. Yeah, let's bring it.
I'm any rude when you're speaking to me rude, isn't it, Leanna?
Look at the end.
Do you guys know how hilarious it is to watch you two from backstage going back and forth? It's like my big brother and my big sister just constantly in, back and forth. Yeah, like.
Yeah, my much older sister. Yeah, I know.
Much older. He is just throwing.
Did you look in his backpack recently, Leanna?
Oh, the school one that he rides the bus.
You gotta look on, and
I might not have to look on. It might actually be eye level with me, but
Leanna, I'm a good foot taller than you, lady. Anyway.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so sorry.
Yes, I just forgot about you all this morning. So Lee, look, I just want to ask about your news break first. Do you have anything involving a runaway pig in your news?
You know what? I had seen the story and I went, who's harboring little piggies around? I don't have it in my news break.
Okay, fine. No, that's okay because our cousin, uncle, brother, Gary Moreno, put a Facebook post. Gary's so corny, man. Gary Moreno, quote, "Some of these RG reporters have lost the plot. Why would they reach out to police for comment on a stray pig? Real hams." Like,
I feel like that was very fitting. It was very fitting.
That is so Gary Moreno. I'm just saying, if somebody comes to you offering you discount bacon or pork belly or anything, folks, just know it's the freshest pig you could have got. Yeah, it's fresh. And honestly, apologies to the plant-based community. I know you probably find that tasteless. Let me just get ahead of the game with that. Tasteless.
Just for that though, I'm gonna put it for everyone that's listening. I need to put that in my newscast. So don't worry, we're gonna inform you about this little piggy that went to, what is it? This little piggy went to
the market.
There we go. It's been a while.
Well, I mean, according to what's the comedian, Mr. Photogenic, he went trick or treating. I don't know if you saw that video. Trick or treat. And the pig was at the door. Yeah, Mr. Photogenic, just folks, you knew that pig was going to make his lineup. Anyway, let's get to your news break. You've got much more important things than a runaway pig. Where it's apparently runaway is pretty normal, I heard, on that part of the island, but we're going to leave that to another day. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Jamal and Sherry, and happy hump day to every one of you that is tuned in with us today. I hope you all are having a great start to this midweek day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. In today's top stories, police are appealing for witnesses after a man was stabbed in the east end of the island over the weekend. Now, authorities say a 56-year-old man fell victim to a knife crime on Sunday evening at 7:25 p.m. Apparently, the man attended the police station to report that he had been stabbed in the area of the scrap yard in Southside, St. George's. Now, he was transported to hospital for treatment of his injuries, where he remains in the ICU. However, his condition is not known at this time. Police say a short while later, a 58-year-old man was arrested and detained in connection with the incident. Detectives are asking for any witnesses to call police or contact the Crime Stoppers hotline. And other police news, footage of a pig on the loose in various locations last night proved a surprise social media hit. Now, the full-grown porker was filmed at a variety of locations by startled onlookers earlier yesterday, including what appeared to be St. George's. Now, some of the footage showed the pig nosing around on a doorstep of a house. But despite the interest in the porcine prowler, it is not known if the owner had been tracked down or if the animal had run all the way home. Shocking news coming in for travelers this morning, as it was revealed that JetBlue is to end all year-round flights from New York's JFK to the island. Now, JetBlue, which had flown to Bermuda from NYC 12 months a year, said it would downgrade Bermuda to a summer seasonal market later this year. Now, the announcement came after JetBlue's Boston service to the island in the winter was phased out in November. The Boston move was put down to low demand during the off-season by Transport Minister Lawrence Scott. JetBlue's Boston service to Bermuda is expected to restart in the spring. The airline's plan to drop winter service to Bermuda altogether was announced yesterday on the aviation's news site Simple Flying. And the Ministry of Education is advising the public that the 2022 Bermuda Scholarships applications are now live. A government spokesperson said that students are encouraged to go to the link and fill in their information as early as possible. The deadline for applications is April 11th, 2022, and can be found at bermudascholarships.com. Now, Acting Minister of Education Tanae Ferbert said, going off to college or university is an exciting time in a person's life. It is an opportunity to seek new challenges and experiences while cultivating the skills and knowledge for your future career or business. She hopes that many students, as possible, take advantage of the numerous scholarships that are available. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 63 and a low near 57 degrees. Chilly temperatures and cloudy skies continue today as a ridge of high pressure slowly moves to our north. Now, the potential for a few passing showers from the north remains into Thursday. Thereafter, lingering moisture to the south will be drawn back into our area and merge with an approaching low pressure system. Now, expect the re-strengthening of winds and development of additional wet weather into Friday as this system nears. That's all for our Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. But before we go, here's a little helpful tip from your favorite community pharmacist. If you think you have insomnia, try turning off all devices at least 30 minutes before your desired bedtime. Also, speak to your People's Pharmacist or healthcare team member about melatonin, CBD, Delta 8, and how these naturally occurring supplements can help you create a better sleep hygiene. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
Thanks so much for that, Lee. So JetBlue, not coming from New York. I want to say Delta still goes from their, maybe not American, so at least they still have at least one option, I guess. I don't know.
At least one option, yes. But it's sad to see the JetBlue flight go because it was just so accessible for people going back and forth.
Yeah, and that was honestly JetBlue is one of my favorite airlines. I've never had trouble, even when I have had trouble in terms of a delay. it's always handsomely rewarded. But can't say that about some other airlines. But I'm gonna leave that even though the 30 days is up. Lee, thank you so much for that. Oh, and thank you for mentioning that porker down the east side of the island.
Yeah, I just had to. I mean, when you mentioned it, I was like, I'm sure people are interested to know what is going on in the east end of the island.
Yeah. Hey, look, for all those folks who's been talking about meat, the price of meat going up, and we can't afford groceries, go see somebody in these. I'm telling you, it must be a sale on pork. We'll check you later.
Bill McDonald had a farm. I'm just saying.
But look, Jamal, before Lee goes, I need to mention what's going on today.
Yes, please.
Rushing me off the show today, Sherry.
Not roast pork day, is it?
No, it's not. But it's something that is near to us as a group right now. It's called National Take the Stairs Day, and it's celebrated every second Wednesday in January. So that means hitting the stairs, not the elevator. And if you're interested in taking things up a notch, run or cycle to work or anything, the important thing is that our lungs need to breathe, we need to move, and we're not doing that as much as we used to before. In addition to, the air quality ain't the best. So we need to continue to be healthy and keep moving as much as we can. So take the stairs today. I
mean, to be honest, unless you're in New York City where you got like 50,000 flights to go up, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Nah. But I'll find one anyway.
Well, yeah. I also say park further, but not everybody's at work. So just take a couple of laps around your house today.
I think I will do that today. Working from home, I might take a lap around the neighborhood. So thank you, Sherry.
Well, Lee, we look forward to that steps challenge we'll be starting soon.
Yes, we do.
See you tomorrow. All right, we are going to take a quick break. We've got Eugene Dean in the green room, and he will be with us in a bit. Stick with us.
Are you a small business or organization looking for new ways to reach a greater audience? Well, here's your chance to get your ad on BTG Radio, Good Day Bermuda, and Bermuda's daily talk show, The Daily Hour. Send an email to contact@bermudacommunications.com.
We're featuring a true frequent flyer this month, Bragg Live Food Products. Paul Bragg was the man behind the products, and during his lifetime originated health food stores and promoted nutrition education throughout the media, helping us make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. Best known for his live cider vinegar, Bragg also brings us a variety of super nutritious and flavorful foods and condiments. Try the star product that helped launch the entire enterprise, Bragg Raw Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Are you ready for your letter of the day? The letter is going to be D as in David. D as in David. All right. So that's your letter today. D as in David. Without further ado, let's bring in our guests for the morning. We have Eugene Dean, a friend of the show. Welcome to the show, good buddy.
Yes, greetings, everyone. Give thanks for having me again. Greetings, Sherry.
Hi, Eugene, with that nice skin.
She She don't talk about everybody like this, Eugene. So take it as a compliment.
Well, give thanks. Yeah. Yes, much appreciated.
Last time you came on, a report. This was what, December, I believe, beginning of December or end of November. There was a report that came out like the previous day about the Omicron, and I had mentioned it briefly, but we didn't know much about it. Dr. Boyce Watkins, he's a former professor behind the Black Voice and Black Knowledge in the U.S. on social media. He says the other day, he tweets, and he's very controversial, but he says, anybody notice how there's like a new variant every couple days, right? And people really went at him, whatnot. But it does seem never ending. Flurona, right? There's another new one with some letters. IHU, I think I could be getting it wrong. Deltron is another one that I believe people have been talking about. It seems never ending. What is your biggest takeaway from the ongoing variants versus flu and then Flurona? What are your thoughts on that before we jump in?
Well, I remember I was in a conference with doctors from all around the world, and this South African doctor came and he said, the Omicron variant is like the early Christmas gift that we were all looking for. So we should reach out with both hands, grab it, and take it for what it is. You know, in other words, his statements were in alignment with doctors all around the world that were saying that they were recognizing that the impact of this variant was very mild. You know, in spite of that, you know, the fear mongering has continued, and people have continued to amp up, you know, case counts around a variant that is extremely transmissible but has low effects. Now, Dr. Karika Weldon spoke about this on the show, and she was getting into the science of it and saying how viruses, you have kind of like this thing with transmissibility, right? And, you know, I guess the strength of it or the danger of it. And those two things can't really coexist. So as something becomes more transmissible, you know, then the impact that it has on our health lessens. You know, viruses really just want to survive. This is what the scientists are saying and the doctors are saying. But I say all that to say that this variance scenario, you know, it's apparent that it's being used to keep the community destabilized. Every time you look, it's almost like even the premier in the summer was telling us that we were going to have a bad winter. And I'm saying, okay, unless all of a sudden the premier is an oracle now, right? I'm trying to figure out like how he knows what the winter is going to be like, you know? So it's starting to give the impression that these things are almost planned, that all of a sudden, like you have these new variants and then the case counts go up and the media is going on about it. So I'm not sure what the rationale is behind it, but I would, you know, I feel like the community is looking for more a stable approach to this and a more measured approach to what's been going on, you know?
So much of what you just said, I want to touch on, from Dr. Karika Weldon to the premier, but I want to go where you ended just now. What is your biggest concern regarding the government's handling of the pandemic?
Oh boy. Wow. So, well, I think for the most part, everybody's been saying the same thing, that there's been no collaboration. No one's really been listening. There's been this very narrow approach. They've kind of been at the forefront of endorsing censorship and blocking people out of the conversation. People are not being able to share any views that are different from what the government feels. So we're getting into this, and it's not even just in Bermuda, it's like this tyrannical approach to government. And then even when you bring that up, people are talking to you like, you know, oh, what are you talking about? Why are people going on about freedoms and things of this nature? And well, it's a reality. And if people didn't realize then, it appears that most people are realizing now that even if you comply with everything that you were asked to comply with, then you're still finding that your life is disrupted in a major way, you know? So the government really hasn't listened, right? The government is now also responsible for pushing and promoting in a major way this rollout of these injections, you know, that is now causing harmful side effects to people all over the world. You know, now I know people were asked to sign a document to say that they waived any rights they had to come at the government and just live stuff like that down. You know what I mean? Somebody ultimately is going to be responsible for the adverse effects that's happening. Now, the other thing that the government's responsible for, and I spoke about this in my very first interview months ago, you know, is that they're responsible for the climate in the community because the government has been discriminating, right? Employers and even people in general have been discriminating. So now people are losing their jobs as a result of this. People are being shut out of the community, and the community has become very divided because the leadership has been going on in a very divisive way, whether it's intentional or unintentional. When you walk through the airport and there's signs that say vaccinated or unvaccinated, you go this way, you go that way, then as a business, you feel that you have the right to do that too, because that's the example that's been set. So we could actually talk the whole show about shortcomings as it relates to the leadership or lack of leadership around this pandemic, because it's just so many different things. They haven't followed any data. They don't cite any data. You know what I mean? So it's just on and on and on, to be honest with you, Jamal.
So again, it's every time you speak, there's so many things I can take out of that. As far as the government and the media, and
Right.
we're going to get to that right now. But also, I just read yesterday that many U.S. corporations, some big ones that we use, many of us use, are actually implementing rules of, like cigarette smokers. If you smoke cigarettes, your insurance is higher. Apparently, they're looking at ways to do that with unvaccinated people because they believe they pose a risk. You have just said that, it's discrimination. They believe that crippling, James Brett says here, he says, COVID is still not the flu. It is crippling healthcare systems with numbers rising. So it's almost like there's this conflict where, I don't disagree that it is discriminatory. Right. I think if anyone with a conscience would agree that it's discriminatory. However, this is the caveat that governments use. And as a person who fought conscription, as do I, just because something is discriminatory doesn't mean it's illegal, right? We know this. There are legal forms of discrimination. So if this is the case, if it's discriminatory, then how do we know it's discriminatory. We know it's discriminatory. But their argument, like with conscription, where it was in the best interest of Black men, mainly Black men, they believe this is in the best interest of public health. But what you're saying, and the other thing I want to touch on in what you were saying, and I've said on this show numerous times, this is not personal against David Brett or the government, but I have said either the premier and his government are poorly advised or they don't listen to the advice that they're given. Right? I said that. And we've seen Dr. Karika Weldon resign recently. And what did she say? Right? So my point is that a lot of what you said, I don't think people should dismiss it. I think we should actually look further into it because take away beyond the pandemic, a lot of these same questions we have based on the governance of the party in power, at least in Bermuda anyway. Right? So, but I want to go back to the media part because the Royal Gazette had an article, and I just want to read. The Royal Gazette was scheduled to interview Mr. Burt, but the premier insisted only a journalist chosen by him could question him. After being told the Royal Gazette would decide for itself who interviewed the premier, the offer of an interview was withdrawn. Now, let me tie that into a question I have for you. So you've created your own platform to express your dissatisfaction with the pandemic and its handling. Why did you feel it was necessary to do this? Do you not trust the media to present the pandemic fairly?
Well, early last year, Ciola Wilson leaked a letter from the CEO, an email from the CEO of the Bermuda Broadcasting Company, where he clearly stated in his email to all the staff that if anybody says anything negatively against the shots, then they have to cut the conversation off. And if they don't cut the conversation off, then the show will be cut off. So it's been made very clear, that the media has no intention of saying anything against the injections. Also in speaking with the Royal Gazette, the editor of the Royal Gazette, he made it clear to me that the ad that's on the top of the paper that says get vaccinated is not a paid ad. It's something that the Royal Gazette is doing, So the media and the censorship that's going, everybody sees what's happening. YouTube, all of a sudden, is a platform. You have to watch what you say, because all of a sudden, they have all this medical expertise where they know what you can say or what's harmful for the community before. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can find out how to make a bomb on YouTube. Why isn't that censored? But all of a sudden, if you talk about ivermectin, it gets pulled. You know what I mean? I've written several press statements and sent it to the media. Nobody runs it. You know, I spoke to doctors early out. I said, what's going on? Are people collaborating? Are you being asked to form a task force to research, to find out what's going on overseas? They said they're not even being given a voice unless they agree with everything that the government is doing. So the media is going to have to answer in a big way of why they have sided with the government as it relates to the rollout or the management of this pandemic, right? Regardless of how successful the measures have been or not. And why have they people out of the conversation? And I didn't create the platform for me. I created the platform because very skilled and experienced people in the community were not being given a voice. That's what the platform has been created for. So at least people can come on and speak freely about their experience and give their advice. Apparently, that's no longer allowed in mainstream media, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, Traveling Trotty says in other parts of the world, the pandemic is not headline news. People are living with it and moving forward. But you obviously, based on what you just said, you don't trust how the media is handling it. You went and created your own platform.
Right.
What do you believe is the best way to move beyond this pandemic? I mean, let's be honest. The media plays an important role in terms of what we see, what we digest, and sometimes what we believe, right? Because if you only see one thing, right? I always say, as far as religion, most of us believe what we believe based on just where we were born, literally, right? And what we were raised around. So I completely get the distrust of the media on many respects. But what do you believe is the best way to move beyond this pandemic? We've heard people say, stop testing. We've heard people say, stop reporting it on the news. But the reality, Eugene, is take away the news. If you have someone that works in a hospital, they're still coming home and telling you, it's no more space. We have to turn away a patient that needs a heart check. We don't have a doctor's appointment for your annual checkup because we're dealing with this. Like, just give us some insight, because some people feel like people like yourself don't come across empathetic. If that, you get me?
Well, it's actually contrary to that. It's actually the complete opposite of it. You know what I mean? And the reality is that people are being turned away from hospitals and denied routine treatments because of the mandates and the policies that they're putting in place. Why is the first thing that people ask you when you go into a doctor's office or into the hospital is whether you've had an injection or not? What's that got to do with whatever sickness you have at the moment? You know, why aren't they focusing on the patient? So if you want to know, like, how do we get beyond this pandemic? Well, the first thing you deal with is treatment. The same way we've dealt with any other outbreak in history. But all of a sudden now, it's this chilling effect on treatment. Nobody talks about it, right? How do you treat COVID? That's the answer you'll get from people. Complete silence. You know why? Because nobody's advocating for that. Nobody's promoting that. You see what I mean? Why has there been a chilling effect on treatments? You know, do people know that you can actually kill the virus in the first 2 days because it lives in the nasal and throat region before it actually enters your body? And you can use simple nasal rinses and gargling, you know, to kill it off? No, people don't know that. Why? Because nobody's telling anybody that. And doctors who deal with treatment are being shunned. Why are the insurance companies not covering ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine if it works? What is the alternative that you're using? Go at home and wait. If you get real sick, go to the hospital. What are they doing at the hospital? At the hospital, they've been using an emergency use authorized drug that is extremely dangerous, that causes renal and liver toxicity. Why do you think people are dying of organ failure? Because they're using remdesivir. Remdesivir showed this in the trials for Ebola. They try to use it again in the trials for COVID, and they're using it. Fauci's linked to it. The NIH is all sorts of corruption written in this thing. People are making money and people are dying. And then people look at people like me who actually tell the truth about this situation and say, I don't have a heart. You see what I mean? I'm actually like dumbfounded by the way that we're not paying attention to the data. Why don't we actually use things like the various database that was created by the CDC to throw up safety signals when rollouts are not going right? The most deaths in VAERS over the past 10 years prior to this was 183 from all vaccines combined. There have been over 20,000 reports of deaths in VAERS from this vaccine alone in less than a year. And that's not a safety signal? And I don't have a heart? Who are all the people who are ignoring this data? What about the media that's not even sharing it? Why they have case counts all up about people dying from COVID, but nobody's talking about adverse effects? What about the athletes that are dying, that are collapsing on the field with cardiac arrest? Sergio Aguero had to retire from playing professional football. You got professional athletes are saying that they had over 20-year careers. They never saw anybody collapse. Now you got professionals, former professionals in England, talking about they know of over 100 and something players that's collapsed in training on the field. We released a report that shows over 400 and something athletes that have suffered from cardiac arrest, and the majority of them have died.
But
why is that not being reported?
No, I hear all of that. And what I would want, if you're saying that to me in general conversation, the same way how I expect actual proof from the government, I would want to say, okay, well, this report came from Christian Eriksen's doctor who collapsed during the Euro, and it is linked to this or that. Like, for me, I don't disagree. I can't disagree because I have no argument against what you're saying. Right. But what I'm asking for is, if anyone's going to have that conversation with me, and I think this is part of the issue. This is part of the issue is that I believe Sophia Cannonier may have asked when Dr. Karika Weldon was on the other day, asking for her data.
Has she sent it?
No, she hasn't yet, and I'll reach out to her. But I think that goes for both sides.
2 whole days. How long it takes?
I think that if we really want people to develop their own opinions that maybe don't have the time or not interested to do the research, let's put a chart up. This is our data. This is our data, and let people decide. What I feel like is that something like that. You know, one thing I learned about school. I'm not an academic, right? So literally, I had to, do a lot of tutoring, and people had to help me more to learn. When you give people the information, it makes it easier for them to learn and understand. And I think that both sides.
Jamal, I agree with you completely, right? The challenge is this. The media is not telling people this. The information is there, right? Now, here I am, right, having to develop a whole platform. This is not what I was doing before this. You know what I mean? I don't have all these resources and stuff behind me to do all this stuff. I'm just doing it, right, out of love for the community. Right now, we actually put out a daily update every single day. So if people go on any of our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Telegram, all of them, you can see our daily updates every day. And then you can follow up on all the things we update and look at the actual data. You know what I mean? That's very important. Now we're having to rely on people volunteering and stuff like that and helping and just a whole lot of late nights and to try to make this stuff happen. Okay. Because our mainstream media refuses to report it. That's the indictment right there. What are they hiding? Why is the premier trying to select a reporter to interview him? If everything he's doing is above board, what is the concern?
And before you jump in, Sherry, I just want to touch on that. I do not defend irresponsible media. I don't agree with irresponsible media, but I also don't support dictatorship-like tactics when it comes to media. And so I actually disagree with any politician or person in leadership that would do something like that. I don't care what the medium is. Just say no, but don't go to those links. Go ahead, Sherry. Sorry.
Right. No, you touched on what I was going to indicate in regards to where can we find, any evidence of all of the different data that you have. You touched on that. So in addition to, is the issue COVID-19 vaccine or just vaccines, period?
Oh, before you answer that, let me just play this clip. Let me play this clip for you.
No problem.
Hold on 2 seconds.
No problem.
Do you believe that vaccination is the best way out of this pandemic currently?
So I think we have to remember that vaccine was never, or it should have never been like the magic bullet or the magic pill. It's a tool that needs to be combined with other things. Obviously, it's an internal protection, right? But we have to do things to prevent from getting COVID into our system in the first place. And that's where the whole social distancing, wearing a mask and not going around other people if you are symptomatic, because really the spread needs to stop. And vaccination is not going to stop, you from giving it to someone else potentially.
Thoughts?
So the first thing, that the glaring thing is there's no mention of treatment. Like, what's the point of doctors? What's the point of health professionals? If when a pandemic comes up, the only thing you're dependent on is pharmaceuticals and people just locking themselves and staying away from each other. That's the most glaring thing that showed up in that. And again, it just proves that there's been this whole chilling effect on treatments. You know what I mean? Now, just before I get to what you said, Cherry, as it relates to how do we deal with the pandemic, right? Treatment and early treatment is first. Then you take a risk stratified approach. The vast majority of people who have succumbed to this virus are elderly, So obviously you put measures in place to try to protect the vulnerable, but you allow everybody else in the community to get back to living life. That's what you do. Otherwise, the mandates become far more crippling than the public health threat that you're trying to protect people from. And that's the reality that we're getting into, And because people are not following the data or only really sharing one side of the data, the vast majority of people are unaware, right, of the negative impacts unless they've been directly impacted themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge that we have. No.
Well, you mentioned you keep mentioning treatments, and Misha Fubler actually has something. He says treatment is reactive, and you're saying that they never mention treatments, but I think I think there's a disconnect. It's almost like the job should be to, and I agree with Misha, prevent.
Of course, yeah, that goes without saying, right? And apologies for not mentioning the obvious. You see what I mean? Because you just prevent yourself from getting sick in the first place, And so if we're going to be, rather than us investing all this money in promoting a shot, then we should have been promoting general health, because the data has shown that the vast majority of people that have succumbed to the virus, have had multiple comorbidities. Even in Italy, that showed up as one of the main places where they had all these deaths. The data's come out to say that like about 97% of those people had 3 or 4 more, serious comorbidities. So yes, it's important for us to be out. That's why things like stopping people from exercising, stopping people from going to the beach, stopping people from going on the railway trails and in parks and things of that nature didn't really work. And if you listen to any of the interviews we had, our community conversations with people out of the UK, you would find that the way that they've been handling it is totally different. The parks are full. People are exercising. People are out as normal. Masks are something that you can choose to wear or choose not to wear.
Yeah. But Eugene, that may be true. But Boris Johnson, the leader, is also under pressure and may not be the leader for much longer. So I think all things reported.
Is it as a result of that?
Well, let's talk about the number 10 party that happened, like the hypocrisy of his governance in regards to how they treat it. Like, you can't tell everyone else not to party, then you're having a party down at number 10 Downing, and then
the way that that's what everybody. We do that here. I was hired to help at this event at the middle of where we had 20 people allowed, and I'm seeing this event that's put on by the government with over 100 people at it.
Well, and again, I think that leads to our distrust of the people. So I don't think, and I'll just be honest, I just don't think using other bad examples as an example, which is my opinion, is a good idea to do. And I want to touch on James Birch. He says the media have a responsibility to report verified data. Eugene, how are you verifying the reports you represent? And so going back to what Sherry was asking about, where can you direct the audience or detractors of your position to your evidence? Because what people want to see is they don't just want to hear from Dr. Karika Weldon or Premier Burt or Eugene Dean. They want to actually go to these verified reports. And keep in mind, we spoke about this last time. Some of the people that we're being directed to, we already don't trust on both sides. There are people that already don't trust Dr. Fauci, so they're not going to go to it. So where are the reports that people can find beyond going on beyond the pandemic TV that they can say, okay, this is trustworthy information?
Well, to be honest with you, right, if you just start at the VAERS data, remember the VAERS database was created, is by the CDC to throw up safety signals, and the data shows it. There's been over an 11,000% increase in reported deaths. There's been a huge increase in just reports of adverse effects. And that data is just being denied. That's simple. Now, if you want to talk about where I talked about players collapsing, you can just do a simple Google and find information about that. It's all over the place. The challenge is that, right, the mainstream people are not reporting it. It's a hush on all of this information, but the information is there. Dr. Peter McCullough, every time you heard Dr. Peter McCullough being interviewed, right, he is citing data all throughout this conversation. You can go to places like the Brown Stern Institute that has a number of people that are sharing data and putting reports and things of that nature. It's a lot of data that's out there for people to go to. Now, for me, I just happen to stay in a circle of doctors and health professionals as of late, and so I'm fortunate enough to be sent information like people like Jessica Rose, who we interviewed. She spent the last year studying the VAERS data as an analyst and writing papers on it and things of that nature. She has a lot of data on her website. You can go to her website. She's broken it all down and all of that. So the data is all available. We are trying to develop a platform where we can take all this, because most people don't want to do all the research, and be able to present it in a way where it's easy for people to see it. Even on our website now, we have a resources page where you can find some of this data. But again, it's a lot of work to do this. I mean, even you having this show every day is a lot of work, right? On top of that, trying to turn it into a news site, put resources and papers and all of that type of stuff, it's a lot of effort. But I still continue to say,
I was going to say, that's okay. I still continue to say, though, Eugene, that people align themselves with what they believe. And I think that's where the mind shift is. How are we shifting people, or how do you shift people out of what it is that they believe? If I believe in this particular doctor, then that's what I believe. And you're going to present something on the opposite side of that, right? So how do I shift my mind to, and is what you're saying is true? You see what I'm saying? So and the mystical and the fairy dust that is out there to people, they're like, well, what do we believe? You know what I mean?
But let's go here. Let's deal, and this is how I like to deal with stuff, even when I'm talking about the environment, because you can get all these conversations around climate change and things of that nature. And I say, okay, tell me something. Is a whole lot of plastic and waste in the water good or not? And everybody would have to agree, well, no, that's a problem. Okay, so let's focus on that. So in this case, right, are there adverse effects to the injections? Yes or no, right? Has there been censorship? Yes or no? Have people been dying in ICUs and hospitals as a result of organ failure? Yes or no? Have there been mass business closures, right, that have caused all sorts of economic impacts, with people being laid off, losing their jobs, things of that nature? Yes or no? You know what I mean? Have the testing regimes caused problems? Are people getting stuck overseas? I was on the phone just before I got on the interview trying to help somebody get home who's been stuck overseas because the travel authorization didn't get through. Then the airline has stopped them because they don't know the type of test that he used. All sorts of crazy. He's been stuck overseas for almost a week. Can't get home, right? Has there been division in the community? Has this had a negative impact on children? Now, if you just go through that and answer those questions, right, then we start to get some sense of reality, right? This is not stuff that's being made up. If you want to deny that all those things are happening, I don't know, what can I say to you after that?
So I just want to say this, and this is in fairness, the same way I'm going to follow up with Dr. Karika Weldon regarding the data that Sophia Kennener asked for. What I need is everything you just asked, present that same data. What I need is, I don't want to, we all know football players are collapsed. I want the evidence to show that it ties in to the shot. That's what people are talking. That's what we're talking about. We know that.
But Jamal, hold on one second. Hold on one second, right? If how many people are seeing football players or basketball players collapse on a regular basis? Nobody's seeing that.
No, but
so if it's happening, because let me tell you something, right? The doctors are not linking it to the shot.
No,
They're
but
not.
Let me denying it. Let me take it a step further.
Right.
For this pandemic, you can also Google that young American football players were beginning to collapse on a more regular basis because they were being trained harder and more, and in conditions that were not easy on their bodies. So that's why I'm telling you, we can research anything and it can tell us anything. I'm simply just asking, I'm going to ask Karika Weldon, I'm going to ask you, present.
No problem. I'll send you all this stuff. Yeah, I'll send you the reports and stuff like that. Yeah, that's no problem.
Because if I'm a layman here, right? If I'm saying, well, if you go, and I see a lot of U.S. news based in the U.S.
Yeah,
you can look. You saw see every summer these young high school American football players collapsing and dying because they're
but Jamal, it weren't happening like that. So I don't even want to create that level of confusion for the audience, because the rate at which this stuff is happening is never been like this before.
No, but the rate in which that's happening never happened before is my point. The rate in which these American football players, that's my. Let's go back to what Sherry said about what we believe. I'm not trying to discredit you right now. I'm literally saying that the same argument could be made. If I'm here as a layman, the same argument can be made that before this pandemic in 2020, American football players in high school, let's Google together. We can do it. They were collapsing. And so if we only found out about that on a global scale right now, we're actually going to believe it can be linked, right, to the shot. And what I want to do for your sake, for your argument, is say, you know what? Let's show the evidence that maybe Christian Eriksen and all these other footballers got the vaccine. And this is why, Sergio Aguero, what you've done today is you've brought up good points and you said that these footballers are collapsing. What people need more than that to actually go with what Sherry said to shift their mindset. You need to, and I'm telling you, you need to break it down to people and say, this person got the vaccine on this day. This is their doctor's result. This is what happened with that. I'm not saying I disagree with you at all, because I said from jump, I said from day one that the handling of this pandemic, the reporting of the pandemic, if you're a conscious, open mind, has left more questions than anything. So I agree with every question you put forth. What I'm saying is, if we can put those questions forth, we also need to provide facts and evidence for people to say, you know what, Eugene makes a good point. Let me start asking these questions, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't just be Eugene Dean and people who believe on that side who feel this way. Because I actually agree with a lot of this stuff that you're saying.
No, for real.
I'm having this discussion with a family member. I don't want to just say, well, Eugene Dean said, or beyond the pandemic.
I know, and it shouldn't be that way. What I'm saying is, right, why aren't the government agencies or the health authorities that actually have all the resources to deal with this, doing this type of research and uncovering and looking at these safety signals and providing the community with weekly or monthly updates on these things? Because there was no intention to provide informed consent. That in itself is illegal. That's corrupt. That's another thing. There's been no informed consent at all, because people have been asked to take 1 shot, 2 shots, now 3 shots, right, of the same product,
and maybe
without
more.
anybody having a conversation with them about, right, adverse effects. None, which means that there has been no informed consent. And on top of that, is people have been pressured, right? Because you've been told you can't travel, right? You've been told that you're going to kill your granny. You've been told that you're not going to be able to come to work. All sorts of things have been used to coerce people without giving them information about the adverse effects. You know, now when the Canadian doctor came out from Guelph, and he talked about the study that was done in Asia, right, where they looked at the body and they recognized, right, that the spike proteins that the shot is getting your body to produce wasn't staying in the shoulder muscle, but it was moving all throughout the body, and it was causing blood clots, you know, that it was actually damaging the parasites or whatever in the heart and causing, right, myocarditis, that it was gathering, they were gathering around the ovaries and women and all of that stuff. These are studies that have been done, but why haven't we heard about that? This was months ago, Jamal. This was last year. Nobody, so I'm saying, fine, I have no problem. I will continue to do my utmost to share as much information as I can, to put as much data that I received on the doctors that I've connected with on the table for the benefit of the community. My question is, why aren't our agencies that are actually paid to do this work doing that work? Why is it being left to me? This is not my profession. I don't make any money doing this. I'm not able to sustain myself doing this. You see what I mean? I literally risk putting myself in the poorhouse over this stuff, literally on a day-to-day basis, just because of my love for the community. You know what I mean? While the people, right, who are getting paid for this are not doing the work at all. The politicians get the paychecks every month, Jamal.
We're almost out of time. I just want to, and Sherry's got another question, but I definitely.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sherry.
I definitely want to say, you know, I honestly appreciate these conversations, not because they're controversial, not because they're, you know, angry or whatever people want to say. I appreciate them because at the end of the day, I feel like we all should take something from this conversation. Now, for instance, someone who disagrees with you, your position and your stance, one thing they can't deny, well, many things they can't deny, is one, when you sign that waiver to get the vaccine, you're waiving your right to sue. You're waiving your right to like that. Why would, you know, I get it. Like, I get that stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Eugene, I understand. I relate. Like, you and I talk. I get it. And then on the other side, there are people who, for whatever reason, they believe that they're doing this in the best interest of their family, friends, and the vulnerable. They believe that. And to them, you know, they believe what maybe their general practitioner is saying, because I believe even Dr. D said it. You know, if you're having thoughts about the vaccine, speak to your GP, right? I believe. So some people may be advised, take the advice and say, yes, I'm getting it. Some people may take the advice and say, no, I'm not getting it, right? But I truly believe, I'm a person, and someone just said it. So just said it.
Yeah, personal choice.
I have been a believer of this. However, Eugene, this must be said, and Cherry, I'll let you jump in after this quick comment. While I agree with you about personal choice and freedoms, man, we got some ignorant people amongst us. And I'm not saying ignorant, like we're all ignorant. Let's be honest, we're all ignorant. None of us knows everything. I'm ignorant to science, literally. Right. So I have to read a bit longer and a bit more. Right. I don't know what other people know when it comes to science. So I admit my ignorance to it. So I'm willing to read both sides. But that's why I say my personal experience, I've been in that room and read the thing about getting the vaccine. I can corroborate that part of what you're saying is true. So I can say, yeah, that's true. But then when it comes to the stuff like the footballers and stuff like that, as I mentioned, for me I would have to see. I know it's happened. I follow football. I'm on sport, Bobby, you name it. But I want to see, okay, did this person, is this their general practitioner? Is this their doctor? Did they say this happened after that? That's all I'm asking for from you. And so,
yeah, no problem. Like I said, I send you the reports that we've been looking at. You know.
Yeah, that's it.
But let me hear what Sherry. Go ahead, Sherry.
I was just say, just to wrap it up, I know you just talked about, helping a friend to get back to Bermuda and all that had to go along with it. What is the latest on the Sophia Carnera case? Do you feel her case has sent a precedent not just in Bermuda but also globally, and if successful?
Yeah, for real. I mean, at this point, Sophia and Michael are the only ones who have actually publicly, right, made a position of not complying with the government mandates and going through it successfully. So at the moment, the case continues to get pushed back, and there's a lot of theories of why the case keeps getting pushed back. What I find is interesting, and I'm very proud of Michael and Sophia for this. Like, they actually want to go to court. Most people are afraid to go to court, and they actually want to, and maybe that's why there could be some concern on the other side. The other thing is that they've lined up a very impressive, right, line of witnesses. I mean, they have Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Paul Alexander, PhD, Dr. Christina Parks, who's another PhD, Dr. Leland Stillman, medical doctor. They also have Dr. Asaran and Dr. Darling as well, locally, lined up to support that case. So there's a lot of evidence. Dr. Paul Alexander have overseen over 100 studies on natural immunity, and analyzed them and surmised them and written reports and come up with results and things of that nature. Dr. Peter McCullough has seen thousands and thousands of clients. He's the one who's leading the whole push for early treatment in the USA and deals with a lot of doctors. So that case is pivotal. And it actually is an example that we can all follow in Bermuda. Like, we have to get on the front foot with this. At the moment, we're all in a position where we're being subjected to all these mandates. You see what I mean? And yeah, Sophia just put up, they have actually been pushing to bring the case forward. Now, when have you ever heard about that in history? That somebody actually wants the case to happen sooner rather than later. That's how eager they are to get in court, you know what I mean? And yes, it does have the potential of having ramifications globally as well, because the doctors that we've spoken to, they have made it clear that through the courts is one of our best ways of being able to address a lot of the challenges or concerns that people have with the pandemic and the way that it's been managed.
Yeah. Brother Eugene, always a pleasure. And I say this because I definitely, there's some, we can go on forever. I think
I'm sure.
I'll follow up with Dr. Weldon regarding the data that Ms. Cannonair asked for the other day. And if you can direct me, and I'll be clear, folks, Eugene sends me information without me asking. So I know he'll send me the data that I'm asking. I appreciate it because it takes me a little bit long. Go ahead, Sherry.
And also just say, let's not just say that these aren't angry conversations. These are very passionate. I hear passion in your voice. Nothing I feel is energy of anger. You're very passionate, you know?
Yeah. And I have to apologize for people who misinterpret that, because I do tend to get very passionate. I mean, even in my family, people say, my daughter tells me, all right, Daddy, all right, you're talking loud again.
Eugene, honestly, they said it about X, they said it about King, they said it about the first Mandela before he came out. They said it about Larry Marshall Sr. Look, do not get the message, let the message get lost, because you have predetermined your thoughts on the individual delivering.
Right.
And I say that from experience.
They say about Jamal.
Look, I say it from experience.
Yeah, for real.
Eugene, I am grateful that there's another side. Having fought conscription against a country where 90-something% of the people disagreed with us.
Yeah,
right?
for real.
I get it. I understand, when you believe in something, when Pastor Ronnie Smith said it best to me before he passed away. He said, what you got to realize is people who are against your fight, many of them have never and will never fight for anything in their lives. There's an acceptance amongst the community. Yeah. So whether we agree with you or not, I appreciate there's another side to create balance to this, because what I think you're doing, not necessarily to say, hey, you should agree with me, but you're bringing valid points to the forefront that in truth, the media should be asking the government certain questions.
Exactly.
And that's what I take from it more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm not here to agree with Dr. Weldon or agree with Eugene Dean. I'm here to get information from what they're presenting to say, you know what? I can ask Eugene Dean to present this evidence, and I can ask the government now to present theirs. What I think we should be very happy about in Bermuda is that we have the opportunity to actually engage with
very important.
Have these conversations. Eugene, thank you. Go ahead.
Can I say, Sherry, I took a note that you mentioned that you tested positive, right? When you were speaking with Dr. Kariko Weldon. So what I find is interesting, right, is that, right, the vast majority of people's experience, right, with COVID has been very similar to yours. Where you're still on the show, you're still functioning. A lot of people were sitting up, kicked back, watching Netflix. But yet you turn on the TV afterwards and the media is telling you that this horrible thing is happening. And all of a sudden then that shifts your psyche in spite of the fact that your personal experience with it was totally different. And that's the disconnect that's being created. I want to ask you guys one other question right before I go. Have you ever taken a test for the flu?
No.
Okay, imagine going to a doctor's office or the hotel or the hospital, prior to all of this, and asking somebody if they can test you to see if you have the flu.
Well, my answer to that, and we've got
what type of response do you think you would have gotten?
But my answer to that was you would have to be. I think it's comparing apples to oranges for this respect. If the flu came out in 1918 and they had technology like they're doing right now, I think they would be testing us for the flu because they're trying to control it, still not knowing it. So I see your point, but I think because this is relatively new to them that they're taking these out. I don't think they're going to be testing for this in another. Well, I hope they're not going to be testing for this in another 2 years. But,
the premier made a statement that the travel authorization is intended for it to stay in place till 2023.
Eugene, I'm going to tell you, I broke this story on this show 2 years ago. I think that's about money. That's my personal opinion. I think that is a business decision, not a medical. I'll leave it at that. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
Bye, Eugene.
Right.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, right?
All right. Just want to say this. Lovely 223 says there's a plethora of info at Beyond the Pandemic site. Just look at it. It's not about the information on there. It's about, as we repeated with Eugene today, it's not just about saying this is right there. It's it's more research than that, folks. And that's why, out of respect, I've asked Eugene to show us the doctor's reports from certain people.
Right.
You're not doing anything different from other general traditional media, mainstream media, if you're just saying, go to our website, look at this. That's the point. That's the point.
Right.
And for me, I can separate myself from what I believe, unless it's conscription, to actually think on that level. Let's go to a quick break. We'll be back with the Daily Play. I appreciate that you all stick around, and hopefully we can put our personal feelings aside and really listen to one another. We'll be right back.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. with professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right, if you appreciated that conversation with Eugene Dean, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy, Lindo's Medical House for appreciate the support they continue to give to us. Time for the Daily Play brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Sherry, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
It's a guess it, don't sing it. Here we go. Quote, these lyrics. Get the lyrics to the song.
Okay.
Quote, here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note by note.
Song I wrote. Don't worry, be happy. What's his name?
All right, okay.
What's his name? I can see it. See his face.
You don't know his name?
Didn't he passed away in it?
Bobby McFerrin. That is
Bobby McFerrin. Yeah. We ain't got time to do all of that.
Real quickly.
Just appreciate Eugene Dean's perspective and his position, and appreciate his passion behind it. And that's basically it for me. I just appreciate it.
I just want to go we didn't get as much to the audience. Eugene obviously has a lot of points to make and information, but James Burt says he's learned a lot through the media all about the treatments. He's learned about the treatments. And Sheikha Rana said they do talk about treatments. James Burt also says the media have a responsibility to report verified data. Eugene, how are you verifying those reports you present? And I think that's what we're asking for and going on the website. So we appreciate it. Definitely, folks. I'll say this much. I don't take sides. And someone put up yesterday, I can't understand in 2022 how people are loyal to political parties. I can't understand how people are loyal to thought processes or organizations at this point, because as we evolve, as the world changes, so should we. So should we. And so I appreciate different thought. I appreciate different information. What I'm going to ask of anyone presenting information is to present where we can find the facts that back up this information. And that's anyone. So I look forward to receiving all of the data, because I'm going to restate what Sherry said earlier. We believe what we believe.
Yeah.
We believe what we believe, folks. And I've said this numerous times, and we're out of time, but I'm just going to say it. And you look at political parties when an election comes. And this is why I always challenge statistics. Statistics and data can tell you any story that you want to sell and tell. Two political parties can use the exact same numbers to tell you completely different stories.
Yeah.
So when Sherry speaks about what you believe, you literally have to relieve yourself of your beliefs to truly have an open mind to understand the information at times. And in truth, a large percentage of us don't do that, won't do that. And pretty much some of us don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Sherry, send us off with some daily inspiration.
Look, I have two quick birthdays. Happy 50th birthday to Tanya Birch. Tanya's 50. And happy birthday to Tammy Stevens. They're celebrating their birthdays today. Our quote for an inspiration for today is: self-love has very little to do with how we feel about your outer self. It's about accepting all of yourself. And that's from Tyra Banks.
I like that one. And she's a model. Thank you for that, Sherry. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great and safe day. We're out.
Bye.